Hey, strong people, Kale Beck here from StartingStrongman.com, and today I'm going to be giving my predictions for Group 3 of World's Strongest Man. Group 3 features JF Caron, Luke Richardson, Mikhail Shivlikov, Robert Oberst, Ithor Ingvelson, and they will be doing the loading medley, the squat, the train pole, the overhead medley, and the pickaxe hold. So this group is one of two groups that gets squat and train pole, the other being group 1. So in the loading medley, I think Ithor will do very well at this, and Luke Richardson and JF Caron. It's hard to say who. Mikhail Shivlikov might be a little slower. Oberst has been good at medleys in the past, but he looks as heavy as I can ever remember him. And the heaviest I remember Oberst being was at the Arnold, 2015, and he was a good 200 something kilos, and he looks almost as big as back then. More muscle, but he looks a little big. So that it's just, I know a lean 380-pound Obi is a beast at loading medleys. I don't know so much about when he's four something sometimes, but you never know. So yeah, I think JF Caron and Luke Richardson are at the top on that, and I'm pretty sure that Ithor did well in the race last year, but I could be wrong. Squat is a prayer from the divine of strongman gods for Robert Oberst in that event. Luke Richardson, surprised that you have JF Caron and Luke Richardson, which would be a very good deadlift battle, doing a squat. And Mikhail Shivlikov. We're getting robbed of a great deadlift battle in this group. But the deadlift's in enough strongman, right? Let them squat. I think the squat was still going to be, I think JF Caron wins it with Richardson in second and Shivlikov right up there, and then it's like between Ithor and Oberst on who brings up the points there. On the train pole, this is a very interesting event in this group. JF Caron has historically not been great at harness pulls. Been a big weakness of him, and the same for Mikhail Shivlikov. It's one of the reasons I believe Shivlikov does very well at all the Arnolds, especially the Arnold Classic in Ohio, and then tends to not make the finals at Worlds because if there's a train pole, he does not place well in it. So Obi has been very good at truck pulls and stuff, harness pulls in the past. And I don't know how Luke is. He's not as experienced of strongman, but seems very astute and a student of it. So just because he's only been doing it for a few years, I wouldn't say he's inexperienced. He just hasn't been competing as long. Not the same thing. But, I mean, Oberst could win this train pole given this group. He really could. And it's going to be an important event for Caron and Shivlikov, and it's a place where Luke Richardson could go to from being I think he's the other guy that could get into the finals, to he's the guy that you expect to win his heat every year. Getting past that point. This is where he could really make up ground, depending on how he does at it. I don't really know. The overhead medley has also been somewhat of a weakness for JF in the past, but I think the saving grace here is that they're generally not super heavy. It's not over 400 pounds. So he might do well. And Shivlikov, I think is it dumbbell he struggles with, but I think he'll do pretty good here. And Ithor has short arms, so maybe that helps. It could be a good event for Oberst. The problem with Obi in medleys is moving in between implements. Strong overhead could also be a very good event for him. and I pick Luke to do well in here as in this. I think he trains with Darren Sadler, so he's used to all the equipment, probably has a good idea of what everything's going to be, and that should help him here. Uh, but yeah, it's so weird. Like JF Caron might win Worlds, but he's not safe in this group, and we're seeing that as a resounding theme. Everything's gotten so much more balanced in strongman. For years, we had where it was just like, here's these 3 or 4 guys that are like better than everyone, and they just breeze through their heats, and then there's a couple other guys that fight through 5th through 10th. Depending on who makes it through their heat. And this year, now, like the last 2 years, with a couple people retiring and more young people coming up and more old people getting a little bit, kind of leveling out in their ability, we're kind of getting like where there's like 3 people in every group that could just win it and make everything really difficult for everyone else. And then the pickaxe hold, I think this would be a good event for Oberst. He's been good at Hercules hold and other events in the past. JF I think has done lots of front holds and should do good as well. But I can't really. It's such a wild card event in these groups, and I love that. And it's also not a taxing event. No one should like blow out a knee doing a pickaxe hold. But it makes it more competitive because it separates everything a little bit more because there's 5 events. At the end of the day, looking at this, I still think we're going to get JF to win. I just have a hard time saying he wouldn't. And I think we either get Luke Richardson versus Shivakov in the stone off, or Oberst versus Richardson in the stone off. Obi, 3-4 years ago, beat Luke Stoltman in a stone off, and then since then he has had some bicep injuries, and he looked just bad at the stones last year. Seems to be looking at his social media that he is working on the stones a good amount. He's been decent at stones in the past, hasn't lately. I think he went against a stone off against Luke last year. It seems like that's kind of what the promoters kind of want to happen, is Obi talking crap to Luke to build Luke up, and then Luke make it into the finals again, just like last year. Makes for good television, and I think that might happen. If Shivlikov gets into the stone off, I also think that I don't think that he beats Luke in it either. Stones have been a historically bad event for Shivlikov. I don't know how he's held together, but stones seem to bring those injuries to light. So I think it's JF and Luke Richardson out of Group 3.